Let us introduce the next round of panelists. Suresh, Prabhakar, Prabhu, former Union Minister of India. Mr. Yuzhu, Chairman of China Foundation for Cultural Heritage Conservation. Vikram, Channa, Narayan, Vice President of Warner Brothers Discovery. Wang Wei, President of Henan Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology. Bomin, Director of Dunhuang Academy. And last but not least, Vallini Letizia, translator and lecturer from Nankai University. She is originally from Italy. Thank you so much. Our topic, of course, is again about cultural inheritance and mutual learning. 刘理事长，您觉得中国文化遗产保护面临的最大挑战是什么？我们该如何克服？
这个主题
This topic is something that I'm always interested in because I've been always dedicated and devoted in resolving these problems. I believe there are some challenges for the cultural heritage preservation. First of all, the public awareness is insufficient. And now the social and economic development has some conflict of cultural heritage preservation. At the same time, the public society awareness is not sufficient, not only the question in China, but also the world. And I think European countries probably is better, but for the rest of the world are all faced with this challenge. And how to resolve this challenge? First of all, we have to be very actively direct the whole society to be participating into the recognition and understanding and the preservation of cultural heritage of themselves. As an observer, to be transferred into some role as a preserver is very important.
谢谢。
好，谢谢刘理事长，谢谢叶老师。Actually, I was a English language major. I studied English, but it changed my life. Did study Chinese change your life in any way?
Yes,
Tell
of
us
course,
about
it
your
changed
story,
my
please.
life. So, first of all, I would like to say that thank you for this invitation and also thank you for this question. And I really think that today's panel is about how to inherit culture and how to pass it on. And I think when we talk about this topic, we have to start from a very important place, the classroom. This is the most important place in my heart because I'm a university teacher. But also I think that to inherit culture, we have to learn how to present our own culture and also how to present it to an international audience. I found out that my third-year students, they don't know how to translate Silk Road. But more than that, they don't know how to translate chopsticks. They don't know how to translate dumplings.
From Chinese to Italian?
From Chinese to Italian. So they cannot use the language they are studying to talk about their own culture. So they don't know how to translate, for example, long, dragon. They don't know how to translate it. Many students still don't know this. So I really think that when we study a language and when we teach a language, we always have to keep in mind that the students don't only have to study the target language and culture, but they also have to become ambassadors of their own culture. So they have to learn how to talk about their culture. Why? Because this is very important in the future when they will go abroad, for example, or they will talk to people from other countries. When we create a positive environment for the international dialogue, then we are passing on our own culture. We are giving someone else the torch, the light of our culture. And this way we are promoting international dialogue and we are also avoiding stereotypes. We are dismantling stereotypes. Thank you very much.
Get your point. Thank you, thank you. Let me get to our Indian guest here. In terms of civilization, we have a lot to talk about. Mr. Prabhu, what is your thoughts on civilizational exchanges, for instance, between the great civilization of India and of China? In the past, we had so many exchanges. Buddhism, not to speak, the Silk Road. What about today? What can you tell us about what can India, China do in terms of cultural, civilizational exchanges in the modern day?
These are few civilizations which are now left as living civilizations, China, India. There were many civilizations which unfortunately couldn't survive for various reasons, but we could withstand the adversity, the aggression, and could maintain the identity and the cultural ethos alive to make sure that we keep thriving. And therefore, it is very important that we must try to take it forward. Now, just imagine that when we talk about culture, it actually, the long living human beings and in the civilizational form are the custodian of the global culture. There is an identity for individual country, individual geography, but this is also part of a human culture which is kept alive. And if you really look at nature, we are all products of nature. And nature is always full of diversity. We can call it biological diversity, we are also biological product, incidentally. So therefore, the diversity is the beauty of this culture. And after agriculture revolution, which is 11,000 years ago, and maybe 4,000-5,000 years after that, the civilization started. And one of the great inventions that the humanity did was that of fire. And therefore, that changed the world. And now we are in the process of technological huge advancement in which we should not forget what the humanity has taught us, what our cultural heritage teaches us is to actually use wisdom while using technology. And therefore, we can talk about very modern technologies. But even the fire was an invention of a technology. It was like a technology. It changed the whole human life, which we actually conquered the animal kingdom thanks to that. But so we must now work in a manner that how do you use our cultural heritage to bring about and build a better world. That's a challenge. And when you say about better world, it is obvious that there are so many infirmities, including, I would say, climate change, which is the biggest threat not only to humanity, but to the entire biological life. We have survived on this planet for a few million years, look like may not survive for even few centuries. And therefore, that's a cultural heritage. I would call it as necessary for civilizational dialogue to make sure that we have no right to kill the other living species. We can have a right probably to make a suicide, which the collectively humanity is trying to work towards it. But at least we should work on that. And if we do that, I would feel that would be the greatest contribution we can make as sensible human beings. And that's what civilization has taught us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived. Chinese civilization for 4,000 years, maybe Indian civilization around the same time. We couldn't have survived like this had we not used the wisdom like this. So I think we should use that.
You have certainly, sir, brought the conversation into a different dimension and a very different perspective, which I have not thought about, but ecological civilization is a very important part of civilization. But previously you have been talking about human to human, group to group. Very interesting perspective. And Vikram, now let me go to you, because you are in a very important role. You are the linkage between the thinkers, right, the ideas, and the people around the world who are looking up to these ideas, looking for inspirations. What do you do? How do you do it with modern technology?
Sure. Thank you. First of all, a great pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me and sharing our views. I'm just going to build on, what Mr. Prabhu talked about, and I think every speaker before in this today has talked about the theme of how to communicate to young people, intergenerational dialogue. And one way of framing that, and coming from the perspective of being in the television medium, which is what you were talking about, I mean, all of us out here, I see ourselves as digital immigrants. And we have to, digital immigrants who have to talk to digital natives. And I think that's at the heart of the specific communication challenge. And in that world, there are certain toolkits. I just made some notes, like, for instance, the idea of fandom. That's the core with which young people assemble. And today, no matter where we live, we connect with others who feel the same. And that's the power of the digital age, and it brings us together across boundaries, local or global. And the digital tools have given us the ability to personalize and amplify individual interests. And at Discovery, these passions often center around iconic themes like adventure exploration, science, nature, of course, culture. But the increasing challenge is how do we pass it on? So I think that's something we need to frame within the idea of digital immigrants and digital natives.
Vikram, you have a very important tool, okay? So use that tool very well, I hope. I have to give the time to our next speaker, which is the guardian of one of the biggest treasure trove in Chinese cultural heritage, Mr. Bomin, who is head of the Dunhuang Academy. You know, one of the most popular pieces on my social media account on X is about an American researcher working in Dunhuang Academy. That shows, you know, in a world where people talk about geopolitics, culture, civilizational exchanges. What can you tell us about what you have been doing to protect these old places and the treasures in there?
敦煌研究院这些年的发展呢，一直离不开国际合作。
Our academy has a lot to do with China's reform and opening up, providing the opportunities for us to tap into preservation technologies that are more cutting edge. And we are also introducing lots of advanced concepts and knowledge and skills regarding the preservation of artifacts. That makes us more better positioned to do our job. With the studies into Dunhuang Grocos, we have also enhance the mutual cultural understanding and exchange. And with international cultural and civilizational cooperation and exchange, we got to bring Dunhuang closer to even more people. And also from a global perspective and from an academic perspective, we are trying to develop some interpretation from different scholars. So last year and the year before last year, we had 2 Dunhuang cultural weeks in the United States, supported by the Chinese embassies in the U.S. And we also invited lots of U.S. citizens to participate in our exhibition, and they were absolutely surprised by how colorful and rich the Dunhuang culture is. And they are also showing a very great level of appreciation for the art.
能够增加更多的一个交流互鉴。
Mr. Wang, 王院长。
很高兴有这个机会。我是做
I'm very happy to have this opportunity, and I'm an archaeologist for 43 years, and then 20 years on a study on the traces of the origin of Chinese civilizations for 5,000 years. And then we discovered that the reason why we have so long time of history is because we keep absorbing the civilizations and elements of other cultures in history. For example, wheat, and we have sheep, and many metals are transported from the different countries to China. And now we also have the porcelain in China transported to other countries. This is the driving force of the cultural and civilizational exchange. And on the other hand, I heard your ideas. China's archaeology was developed and had been developed by absorbing the elements of European countries and America, and so that we can be able to preserve our cultural and heritage. And now the museums have become more popular, unlike 20 years ago when people simply did not want to go to the museums. Only archaeologists were willing to go. And so we have to let more people know the richness and the layers of the civilizations of China. And previously, some speakers mentioned that as well. We have so many kinds of porcelains, beautiful porcelains, and how to demonstrate them and how to make people know and understand and enjoy.
好，谢谢王院长。If we have the time, we would hear so much more, but less is more. Thank you so much. 让我们再一次用掌声感谢我们的6位嘉宾，谢谢。Thank you so much.